Brazil's World Cup 2026 opener was supposed to be the start of a smooth journey. Instead, it quickly turned into a warning sign nobody in yellow wanted to see. Because for long stretches of the first half, Morocco didn't just compete with Brazil, they controlled them. And as Carlo Ancelotti watched from the touchline, the same question kept growing louder: who exactly is running this team? Because from the opening minutes, Morocco played like a side with nothing to fear. Fast pressing, sharp passing, and brutal confidence in every duel. Brazil, on the other hand, looked stuck, slow in midfield, messy in transition, and completely uncomfortable whenever Morocco accelerated the tempo. But that wasn't even the biggest problem. The structure was. Morocco kept finding space in exactly the same areas again and again. Khannouss and Ounahi started drifting between the lines like they had extra time on the ball. And every time they turned, Brazil's midfield was already chasing shadows. Casemiro tried to organize things, but the gaps kept opening wider instead of closing. At that point, it already felt like a system issue, not just an off night. Because Brazil weren't losing individual battles, they were losing shape. Fullbacks were pulled out of position. The defensive line hesitated. The midfield couldn't connect defense to attack. And Morocco, they sensed it immediately. One pass, one run, and suddenly Brazil looked exposed again and again. And just when it felt like Brazil might actually fall behind early, Morocco did exactly that. A slick move, a clever ball into space, and Ismael Saibari finished it calmly. Alisson beat, Brazil stunned, and the stadium felt something rare: doubt. At that point, whispers started growing louder. Is this Brazil team actually built for a World Cup run, or just surviving on reputation? Because this isn't the old Brazil. No constant rhythm, no overwhelming dominance, no Joga Bonito chaos that breaks teams apart. This version feels different, still talented but uncertain, still dangerous but incomplete. And then came the moment that changed everything. Vinícius Jr, one touch, one burst of speed. And suddenly Morocco's defensive line looked human again. He drifted into space, reset his angle, and then unleashed a finish that ripped into the top corner like it had been waiting for him. No hesitation, no build-up, just pure instinct. 1-1, and for a moment Brazil breathed again. But even in celebration, there was a strange feeling underneath it, like the goal fixed the score, not the problem. Because Morocco didn't disappear, they didn't panic. They didn't retreat, they came again. Hakimi pushed forward with intent. Saibari nearly struck again. Ounahi kept gliding through midfield like Brazil couldn't track him, and every attack carried the same message: this game is still open. And that's where the bigger conversation starts, because under Ancelotti, Brazil have talent, no question. Vinicius looks like a cheat code in moments like this. Raphinha adds pace. There's technical quality everywhere you look, but the balance still missing, and that raises a difficult debate inside Brazilian football. Is this team moving forward or still waiting for new identity to form? Some even point to Neymar's absence as the missing emotional and creative anchor. Others argue that relying on any single player again is exactly the problem Brazil are trying to escape. Either way, the uncertainty remains. Because Morocco didn't just test Brazil's defense, they tested their structure, their rhythm, and their ability to control chaos. And even after the final whistle, the feeling didn't fully disappear. Brazil escaped with a draw. Vinicius delivered the moment of brilliance they needed, but the system still looked fragile. And if this is what happens in the opener, the rest of the tournament might force Ancelotti to find answers much faster than expected. Because brilliance can save Brazil for a night, but balance is what wins them the World Cup.